Hello and welcome back to Brimwood Farm. Now, you might have been wondering where all the videos have been, and I know some of you have been very kind in messaging me both on here and privately to see if I'm okay. And to tell you the complete and frank and honest truth, have I been okay? No, I haven't. So I hit a wall, burnt out and had a breakdown. And I'm going to be honest with you, it was not fun at all. And I am very slowly recovering each day with a little bit here and there. Setting up a farm, trying to make it profitable and doing it when you're also on your own is hard work. Don't get me wrong, I have enjoyed loads of aspects of it and it's been the fulfillment of a dream and lots of planning, but I think also that has fed into my feeling of being burnt out and just really depressed, because there's that idea of, well, I've achieved my dream, I'm here, why am I not enjoying it? And so you start to put a lot of pressure on yourself. And not only is that that mental pressure, but also the physical pressure, because I admit I started too quickly. I moved to the farm, I got sheep, I got goats, I got poultry. Well, I already had the chickens, but I brought all the poultry with me. I started a market garden, I started a cut flower patch, I made a little pop-up campsite, and then I got some pigs. It was a lot. Now, I did that because I wanted to be a diverse business so that if one aspect failed, the other aspects would bring the business up. And in the back of my mind, UK planning law is really difficult to get planning on a farm. And so when I talked to my council, they basically were making me get as many things as possible on the farm going to kind of validate why I should live here. So I was caught in this vicious circle of, I need to grow and grow to fulfill the needs of the council so that I can actually live here. But that is pushing me to breaking point. Combine that with the fact that this year the weather has been horrendous. So spring was a heat wave and a drought. We had nothing. So I was putting out, beds, hundreds of pounds worth of seedlings that I had lovingly put my time and effort into raising. I was putting them out in the garden. I was watering them. I was irrigating them. They were shriveling up and dying. So I was literally watching my farming year die in front of my eyes. And then as soon as we hit the pop-up campsite season, the heat wave ended and the rain started. And so occupancy has been really low as well. So all of that combined, me doing too much, me having too much going on the farm, me having to try and make a financial success of this, because when I go back, because I only have that caravan for 3 years and then I have to go back and prove that I have a viable business. So that then financial viability that I had to fulfill, with the year getting away from me and the weather really undermining every aspect of what I did, was an absolute nightmare. And then on top of that, because there was no rain, there was no grass to feed the sheep, which meant the sheep were breaking out on a day-to-day basis, which meant I had to put sheep in the barn into a naughty corner, I call it. But if they're in the barn, I've got to feed them. So then that's more money. So this year has just been a disaster. A disaster. But it's not all doom and gloom. It's not all doom and gloom. Things have been happening. I'm going to go and show you some of the positive things so that both for me, I can instill it into my heart that good stuff has happened, and also show you, I suppose, the reality. One of the realities is the drought this year meant that native weeds have thrived because they've grown in situ, they've put down long tap roots, and they have gone mental, whereas everything that I've been trying to grow for me that I want to plant has not worked. So you can see the garden is an absolute state. So much so that I had to cancel my CSA and refund everybody, and I have given up on the garden this year. The garden is done. I am trying not to give it any mind time. Saying that, I have started to redo things, planning for this autumn and planning for next year. Now, until a few weeks ago, my entire cut flower patch looked like this. an absolute state. And one of the reasons it was so bad was because of these thistles, because the thistles had got in there and they were so painful to try and remove. And when you're burnt out and depressed and not thinking, you aren't thinking right. And it wasn't until somebody came here and was like, why didn't you get some long sleeved gloves? And then that can make a difference. Well, I did. I got these. Cool job. And I could suddenly weed without getting stung and covered in horribleness and it just being really unpleasurable. And so now what's left of the garden looks like this. Now there is nothing really in it. I am not making bouquets from this cut flower patch at all, because other than a few cactus dahlias that were seed dahlias that I've grown on from seed, and a little bit of eryngium which is now past it because it's browned off and got wet, there's nothing actually I've been able to use. So the cut flower patch has been forgotten. I'm not thinking about it this year. It's done. If there's some flowers here and there that I can make up as private bouquets for people, but I'm not making up loads of bouquets to sell at markets or to put at the bottom of the drive because I don't have the consistency. The market garden is much the same. I have kind of just tried to put it in the back of my mind, right, it's cancelled for this year. Don't worry about it. Just work your way through it gradually. Weed it out where you can. The plants that you have got growing, just see what they come to. So I have actually moved a little bit of the cut flower patch into the market garden. So we've got some cosmos here. This is some mini sweet corn. You can see that the male flowers are coming out the top now, but I've never grown sweet corn before, and I'm hoping that some female flowers come out with some actual cobs. But that's yet to be seen. Again, weeds have just taken over everything, but I have been gradually coming through. This is guinea pig poop from the hutches, which has been really good for fertilizing, and I have just started to plan things that I can grow now. So I put in a little row. Well, this is awesome. Oh my god, this was a row of radishes, but blackbirds have come through and torn them out, because that is my life. Oh look, I'm going to forget about it. Next to it there's a small row of rocket. Again, why have they pulled out the rocket, the radish, and not the rocket? I swear, like gardening with wildlife, it's not for the faint-hearted. Because blackbirds in particular, have caused so much destruction in the garden. Here I have a few beans. Again, this was supposed to be covered in beans, but there's some red vein sorrel. The patty pans are starting finally to come on. Again, I've not had a single courgette. What on earth is that about? And then we get into complete mess territory. There's some beetroot in here. There's some beetroot down the bottom here. There are some spring onions in here. It just needs, again, most of the garden this year looked like that. And it was supposed to be my happy place to come to, and every time I walked through the garden, it just filled me with dread and depression, and I didn't like gardening anymore. And I love gardening, but I completely had lost all love for the garden. Here there are 2 rows of cut flowers. There is a lot of weed. I need to come in again and weed out. This hasn't been weeded for about 3 weeks. But there are asters, which actually have done really well. They have done well, and I'm excited to see them flower. There's some marigolds that I actually put in only the other day, as kind of thinking, right, what can I do? What can I sow to get some possible September, October flowers from? So I've got those. I've got a few little, it's just gone out of my mind. I want to call it Achillea. It's not Achillea. Can't remember. But a few little things, but again, I don't think they're going to come too much because look how they're flowering so stupidly. This is some Nicotiana. These are some straw flowers. And then we've got a few sunflowers down here. And then on this side we've got some statice. But then again, look at these plants. They should be in full flower, but they're not at all. But we're still in August. You never know what's going to happen with the weather. Maybe we'll get a really late frost and I'll get a few, I might get some September, October flowers out of here. One thing I really am happy about is I have played with pumpkins this year and built a disgusting looking arch just out of an old piece of polytunnel and some Harris fencing that was broken. But look at these. This is called a pink banana squash. Obviously it's not pink at the moment. I've never grown it before. I don't know whether it's going to turn pink later on. But these have done well. They're starting to climb over the frame. And this is my pumpkin patch. We've got one of the first butternut squashes here. And then down here we've got some of the first pumpkins starting to arrive. And so again, I'm kind of just trying to reel it back, garden and farm for me, and if there's some excess I'll sell it at some markets or on the farm gate. But I'm not trying to get into vast farm numbers because that's just going to stress me out. And then we head down towards the polytunnel, which again it's a weedy mess. But I have been trying to stay on top of the weeds. But there's aubergines, there's some tomatoes, there's purple basil and a green basil. This is all peppers over here. There's some cucumbers coming up over here. The problem with the polytunnel is I am not a hot weather person. I can't bear it. It makes me super irritable. It makes me sweat constantly. I actually physically become quite poorly when it's too hot. So I actually haven't been able to get in this polytunnel very much to do anything because it makes me feel poorly. So I might need to rethink that as well. But another thing that I am super happy with is I built a little pallet fence because the sheep were doing my absolute nutting. So I came down and cleared behind the polytunnel and I got all these pallets and I built myself a little pallet fence. It is not yet finished. I need to get some hinges because here is a gate, or will be a gate, so that you can then look out into the meadow. And this is the end of the polytunnel, and then you can look out. I haven't finished it yet. I'm probably going to chop these off, but I've left them for now because I may want to run electric between these at some point to stop animals. I probably will need to, if we go round, also run possibly some electric on the front of the fence. But what I can do is I can put in an isolator on the front and run a strand out here. But I think also I may need to run a strand along the top. I'm really happy with it. It's one of those things you see on Pinterest and you think, God, that's going to look really crap if I do it. But I don't think it looks bad at all. I've tried to step it down, so there's obviously we're on a bit of a slope here, so there's 4 at one level and then it drops, and then there's another 4 and then it drops. The pallets are literally sitting just on the surface of the ground, and then they're attached to the tree stakes, and it's the tree stakes that are bashed in, and then they are screwed together. But all in all, I'm happy with this little project. As I say, I need to get way more because it finishes there and I need it to go down to about there, And then if I have enough, I might do the entire market garden in it, so then it might have to go away all along there too. But it stopped some of the sheep, well actually it stopped all sheep getting in from that back point, so it did its job. I think it looks nice. It was basically free. So there's a win for you. I have also begun with planting those radishes and those rockets to think about autumn and winter harvests and things that I can sell to people later on down the road. However, seedlings don't like any extreme. So they don't like an extreme heat, they don't like extreme cold, they don't like wind, they don't like really, really heavy rain. And that's what we've been having. We haven't had like 1 or 2 days of drizzle. We've had a day of heavy downpours. We haven't had just a slow climb in temperatures or a slow drop in temperatures. We've had 30 degrees, baking hot, and then the next day 15. That just intermittent, that vast change in temperature has not done any of the seedlings that I've been trying to grow any good. Haven't been able to put them in the polytunnel, too hot. Haven't been able to put them on the benches, again too hot but too windy and too wet when the downpours came. So actually what I've been doing is, and it's not ideal because they're not going to be getting lots of light, but they are doing better than anywhere else on the farm, is I've just been popping them on the shed here. So I've got some lettuces that are coming on really, really nicely. I've got some spinach that I actually pricked out and potted on yesterday, and then I've got some chard. And the idea of those is that, again, slowly, I'm making over the garden, I'm digging out beds, I'm weeding, and these will potentially be crops that I can now look after. Now I feel better and sell to customers at the farmers market and on the garden gate and via my Rico ring, which is my replacement for the CSA, through the autumn months of the year. Another thing I've been really happy with is zinnias. So this is one of my beds I normally have my bulbs in. So at the bottom I have my tulip and my daffodil bulbs, and I've planted them up with zinnias. I had to put this on because the chickens were a nightmare. They were trying to come in and scratch stuff up. So I've just got basically tree stakes and then this wraparound fabric that a friend gave me. But I've been really happy with these zinnias. Now there was a slight complication because I expected all of the zinnias to be those large flowers so I could make large bouquets with them. I don't know whether the seed got mixed up in the packets or I've just been a numpty, but there's a lot of these tiny ones. However, I can still sell them. So I've got that bed. I had some overflow zinnias that I put in the bed on the other side. So this, this bed doesn't look as impressive, but there's still, so I mean, that's really lovely. That's really lovely. And then there's also some stunning, I think it's Monarda. I can't remember what I sowed, to be fair, but look at this. Is this Monarda bee balm? It's beautiful. This was heavily weeded and I weeded it out, and the only unfortunate thing that I figured out was that the weeds had been the structure for the plants. So as soon as I weeded it out, all the bee balm, Monarda, whatever we're calling it, all fell over. Hence why I've got this funny stem wrap around here, so I can't sell that because that stem's got a massive kink in it. But you can see now they are getting some of their own strength and coming up. So I'm excited to see how those do. And again, I will be able to use those for bouquets. I also gave myself a little treat and I bought a couple of eucalyptus to put either side of the gate, which will not only offer structure, but I'll be cutting them for foliage. And I also bought myself a new smoke bush because the old one died. Although when I was trimming, I discovered that the old one is coming back, so I may now have 2 of these beautiful smoke bushes. Again, I would like to use this foliage in bouquets in the future. Now this smoke bush has been slightly nibbled, as you can see here, but that is because our own sweet darling Astrid has been on the scene to give it some important attention. Astrid has been one of the joys of this year, and I don't know if you remember that tiny little goat that was almost dead and we had to look after her, and she even slept in the bed for a couple of nights, but look at her. She's turned into a beauty. She is on an extendable lead because she's a goat. She eats absolutely everything. And unfortunately, she hasn't been able to go back with the other goats because A, she is very good at escaping, and their pen has quite large stock fence and she just goes straight through it. And B, they beat her up, which isn't very nice. But she doesn't really think she's a goat. She's too used to dogs and humans. So she seems to be quite happy on her little lead. The other good news is the other day I was looking at my Golden Guernsey cross Lollipop, and I've been thinking she was looking fat, but she was probably just fat, not actually pregnant. But I saw a baby wriggle. So Astrid will have some brothers and sisters coming, and then I'm hoping at that point I might be able to reintegrate her. But as I say, at the moment she's on her extendable lead. I move it around from time to time. She comes into the barn at night, so she has a pen in the barn that she goes to sleep in, and in the daytime she's out. So she has been a little well-wisher for me this year, haven't you? We've also had more piglets, so both Rose and Daisy have had their second litters. Rose had them first, she's in here. And she bizarrely only had 3, but again, it doesn't matter. They're happy, they're healthy. And then a couple of days later, Daisy gave birth. Now Daisy had 1 in February, which is weird. And I was slightly concerned, but there's 3 little there. And where's the rest of them? Oh, they're over there, look. Hello, guys. So Daisy increased her piglet percentage by 700%, everybody, 700%. So we have many, many piglets. The only slight downside of Daisy's litter is they're all boys, which to me is not a problem, but when I'm selling weaners on, people want girls. I think there's an idea that boar taint is a thing. Now, if you're taking a 2-year-old boar to market or to the abattoir, then yes, his meat may be a bit musky. But if you're sending weaners off that aren't even a year, I've never tasted anything different. In fact, I personally think boys are better because they grow faster, and that little bit of testosterone helps them bulk up quicker than if you buy gilts. So I've sold all my gilts. I've got 2 from Violet earlier in the year. They are leaving this week. I've got 2 from Rose. Out of those 3, 2 gilts. They've already been pre-sold, but I've got 8 boars that I'm going to have to try and upsell and change people's minds. Plus Hyacinth is due to give birth in 3 weeks, and she normally has 10-ish. So I'm hoping that she has a better ratio of girls to boys, or we're really going to be on the hard sell. And then to sheep and to grazing problems, and they all think I've got food for them, so they are all coming running. But you can see the state of the grass, i.e. there is none, and that's because this year grazing has been an absolute nightmare. Normally I would have them out on another field, but unfortunately last year one of my neighbours came onto my land and cut down a load of hedgerow because they wanted to access a drainage ditch, which wasn't actually on their land either. That, however, means that the sheep can escape because that hedge was what held them in. And I haven't been, I'm frustrated because that allowed me to graze my sheep somewhere else. My sheep don't respect electric fencing in the slightest. So I couldn't block that with electric fencing. I need to have that properly fenced before I can let them on. So I've had to have them on this field. They've done all right, to be fair. I mean, they look good. I mean, I need to shear Gertie still. They look good, and the lambs have grown. This is a lamb from this year. This is a lamb from this year. There's a nice ram lamb over the back there. That's Juno, who I haven't been able to catch. There's a nice ram lamb here. So the lambs themselves have grown really, really well, but there's a lot of thistle on this field, which the goats would eat if I could get them out here. But again, this field is not completely sheep or goat safe. The goats would be out within an instant. So I've had that on top of just chasing sheep, because the grass hasn't grown properly, so they're desperate to find new fodder, which means they then climb out, go through hedgerows. The pond is completely empty, which means the sheep have just been walking across the pond. The pond borders a hedgerow. They've been walking across the pond to get out. So it's been a lot. This winter, I am going to try and get the perimeter fencing sorted out, because it's really frustrating me at the moment that I have been here for 4 years. I've been coming up and doing stuff here for 10 years with the aim to make this a rewilded site. And the one thing that is stopping it being a truly rewilded site, and the one thing that causes me so much mental grief with animals, is the lack of perimeter fencing. And so I've done about £5,000 worth of fencing, and I've used money that you guys, if you're a Patreon, I've used money coming from Patreon to help with fencing. But I'm going to be launching a big GoFundMe this autumn winter and trying to get the perimeter fencing done. The problem is it costs. Like, it's such a simple thing, fencing, and it's such a simple way to completely turn the site around and turn my life around, but it's going to cost about £20,000 to £30,000. I don't have that kind of money. So I'm going to be running a bit of a GoFundMe. I'm going to try and get loads of local people involved in it, especially when it comes to the fact that actually once it's perimeter fenced, you'll be able to come and walk around the land. You'll be able to come and see all the wildlife. You'll be able to come and see all the sheep just doing their thing. I won't have heavily grazed patches like this because my stocking density on this field is way too much. But my stocking density across the entire site means that this won't happen. So I am excited about the future. It's just taken me a while to get there. So I hope that explains where I've been and why there haven't been videos. It's really difficult to film a video about life on the farm when every aspect of that life feels too much. You know, can I go and make a garden video? No, because walking through the garden is giving me anxiety and depression. Can I go and make a video about the sheep? No, because half the sheep won't be in the field because they keep breaking out. I'm going to have to go running across the field catching them, and that's going to really, really stress me out. So it's been hard. It's been really hard. Mental health is no joke, and when I've got a community around me to help, but ultimately I am trying to make this business venture work on my own. There are a few people now volunteering, coming to site to help, but that is why. So a lot has happened that you won't know about because I haven't been filming it. So I'm going to try and catch you up on certain aspects. If there are things from this video or you've seen in the background, you're like, oh, hang on, you haven't talked about that enough, or we want to see more of that, please let me know, because again, so much has happened that I don't really know where to start in terms of updating you. But I hope to bring you some more videos and increase it to maybe one a fortnight, if I can do it one a week. I don't know right now. But I am glad to give you an update today. And look at this tree. Grab apples galore. We are coming into that special season. Grab apples, hawthorn here. And good stuff is on the horizon, right? And it's almost the end of the year. Yay! I can't wait to put 2025 behind me.